Welcome everybody. We're here for our target discussion tonight, 120912, and I have my desktop up. We have a lot of sessions to review. I'm hoping that Lynn will come in. I did kind of delay getting started. This target, I had several objectives when I chose it. We've been working on move commands, and this is a mixed group. There are people here from several schools, several methodologies. Some people are learning from home, and so we're trying to teach as we go, and to all levels of viewing, some advanced, some basic. And so what I was trying to do, and I talked about this with Lynn 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think, I wanted to choose a target that a person could land at and then simply give yourself a move command in time. I considered saying 60 years, I considered, specifics like that, and I didn't want to pollute anybody with any more information than was absolutely necessary. So I chose the most bland, non-informational task or front loading, which is the target is a target, describe the target, gave absolutely no information at all. And then I said, once you're in session, give yourself a move command and describe the target at the designated time. So let me just open this stuff up here. Here is what I wanted you to describe, ultimately describe. Oops, that's kind of big. This is my elementary school where I spent the first 8 grades of my life. It's York Township School, and it's called York Center School. And so that's it in I'll open it up here in a second. 1967-68, and it tells that I wanted to capture that date on the inside cover. So that's the period that I wanted to see in a move command, and I thought this ought to be fairly simple because the building now is, let me get the feedback. There we go. This is a big Word document because I've got a lot of pictures pasted in here. This is what the building is now. It's no longer a school. It's an apostolic church camp. And so now it's been changed around the outside. There are 2 big outbuildings as well as different playground equipment. But some of the background is so you know what's in the structure so we can look at the session results. A lot of them, you can pick things out of people's session results, but none that looked, they might. There are things about, hair and 70s and stuff like that. So, yeah, that counts, but there's nothing that really smacked of a school, and that's what I was hoping to see. So, anyway. It's a rural community. It's in the farming district. The building, the structure itself is made of brick with terrazzo floors, and there's a basement that housed the kitchen, a large cafeteria, a janitor's room, and a coal-fired boiler. There's steam heat with radiators all throughout the building, and there are clinkers outside. When we were kids, we were always fascinated by those. They're burned up coal pieces, and outside at the base of the chimney. And 5 yellow school buses delivered students daily, and I tried to, like I said, get this down because there's no telling exactly what any one of you is going to snatch onto. There were 8 grades, there were 5 classrooms, so there were 2 grades to a class. 2 on the first floor, 3 on the second. There was an office and a small library on the second floor. The gym was halfway between the first and second stories, and it had your typical wooden floors, and there's some inside shots of it, which I'll show again. And there were wine-colored velvet curtains, no bleachers. And again, it was situated in rural farmland. All the usual sounds of close animals that are fairly close. There are pigs, cows, and chickens, and you can hear feeders banging and all the appropriate noises for farm animals, as well as farmers tilling the field in spring and fall with the usual. Some of you are amazing, actually, in your ability to pick up smells and chemicals and stuff. And so that's why I went down, right down to wheat, corn, and oats were around. And it would not have surprised me if one of you wouldn't have picked up manure, just because they would spread it on the fields outside sometimes. And there were tractors. And in case any of you latched on to anything about iron ore, there's a historic marker that it was an iron ore bog in the 1840s, 1855s. And just north of there, in some of our Target of the Week discussions, some of you have been picking up sounds from trains and so on. And there's actually a two-track train with a truss bridge that was still in use in 67, 68, just to the north. And then some of the folks who are, I've pictures here of period dress because some of you were talking about Farrah Fawcett hair. And Ruth Buffenbarger taught here. She was my first and second grade teacher, and she was Secretary of State Earl Butt's sister. The school is now used by the Apostolic Church as a camp. Original slide and swings are still there, which you'll see photos of them. One of you got something very large and very shiny. And there was a big merry-go-round that would have been a big motion attractor. It's not there, but back in the 67, 68 area, it would have been. And there's a pine tree that I just threw in. I tried to save it when I was in the second grade. It was being buried by snow, and I was positive it was going to die. So I'm out there getting frostbite. It's a big tree now. I don't think it needed me at all. So let me go back to the photo. There's what it looks now, and believe it or not, I'm sitting here grumping about session results. And there are actually some of you who are getting, I think it might be Deborah. And I just got sessions in from Deborah, Janine, and Alexis. And you're getting people in long, like not Pilgrim, but and not Amish, but it reminded me the church of this apostolic church will have different denominations, but they are often seen in long denim skirts, and their hair is very, very long. The women don't cut it often, don't wear jewelry, but again, there are different levels of that. So a lot of you did get church-type perceptions. I had two pictures, and this is probably the wrong one. There's a machine here. One of you was getting machine stuff, and I think it was Jed. And this is a cement. One of my other photos shows a cement-type machine, and there's like a box. I'm trying to think of what you call those. But anyway, they can raise it up and repair the caulking between the bricks. And some of Jed's, I thought, descriptors were reminiscent of that, but I couldn't be 100% sure, obviously. And this is just some of there are different colors and some of the stuff that goes on around the building now. Here are some of, I didn't know if you pick up the playground equipment, especially with motion. This slide right here is being supported. This shot doesn't show it quite so well, but if you can see my cursor, right there supporting that shiny slide is a stick figure type of a man, and that's a smiley face up at the top. More playground equipment. There's a shot of the tree. It looks a little scruffy, but it's still alive. So that's 1962, when it was just a little bitty thing. Here's a shot that shows if any of you would have picked up on the ore. and the train, if any of you would have been getting the kinds of noises that will be appropriate. Here's the current bridge, and here's an aerial shot, so you can, this is the school right here, and there are farms all over the place surrounding it. And that's the railroad here. Just a little bit closer shot. Then here is the trestle bridge, and I was still going over this thing in buses. Weight limit of 4 tons. We were a little nervous even back in that day. So that's what it looks like now. And again, here's what, back up here. There's what it looked like back in the day when I was in school there. And there are a few inside shots. Like I said, it's like taking you guys on a field trip, really, and I'm never quite sure where y'all are going to hop out of the bus. And we'll say, well, we'll meet you for lunch. And I hate it when I do that. Okay. A couple more inside shots, and then that will pretty much cover anything as we go through these sessions, what you might pick up as far as results. Some more period dress. And if any of you picked up cafeteria type stuff, if you were hungry and got attracted. And some more faculty with the bouffant hairdos. And this is my principal that always reminds me of Lynn, actually. And right there is Secretary of State Earl Buck's sister. And some inside shots of the gym in case you're picking up wooden floors or the blocks. And this is the only shot I could find not in the same yearbook, but this has the stage behind it with the curtains and stuff. So that, and there's a radiator with the steam heat. So that's pretty much your feedback as we go through this. And I need to put a smile on because I think there's probably a ton of stuff in here. And I'm just going to start going down through these. We probably have 8 or 10 sessions tonight. Russ didn't have any front loading, and this is his summary. Everybody's getting water, and there's obviously water around, but no bodies of water. Musical stage, grid work, supported set of platforms with multiple step levels, and he's got large star hangs above. It can be raised, raining down, and it's blue, gold, chroma, and silver with a core trail of a couple in the star. And if you're talking about a church building, you know, it's not much of a stretch, but I don't have anything that says that there's a star anywhere that I know of. And they're literally creating drama and tension. Somebody is, they're appreciating the efforts on stage. The bios seem negative in their assessment. And the bios are on stage using cueing and hearing devices in the right ear for timing. A lot of churches do that. Can't, like I said, no feedback. And Spanish style head, I don't have any feedback for that. And there's more, they're worried that things are wet that could derail the event. And I don't know, can you guys read this at all? On my laptop, is the font big enough?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. an exit arched, and a veiled female.
What city and state is this?
Northern Indiana. And authority figures, horns and traffic. There's transportation at least close by. And the temperature is 42s to 60s. There's somebody there who appears to have an injured right big toe, and it's bleeding. There's a female wearing a hooded veiled garment. I remember that this session, the male was, the female seemed more, I think, quiet and submissive. And I'm just reading down through this. Russ is possibly typing into preachers. Yep, lots of rebuking going on too. Oh, he guessed it. And he guessed a wedding. Russ packs a lot of information into his summaries. And I didn't get any sketches from Russ this time. Could have been called the crown jewel. And then this is part of his actual session. That was his summary. And I'm looking over to see flowers. Churches do that every week, all on the stage. That's true. Would be one of those question marks, but you know that that is true of churches. And maybe even funerals. Yes, that is correct. I'm just watching to see if Russ types anything else in. And I'll go through the sessions for the folks who are actually here first. So we have a death element, maybe. They seem to be on stage, so I can't say for sure. But at both school and church, there were thespian-type activities. Alexis is up next. And again, I was hoping that you guys would land at the church and then move in time back to the school. So I'm going to sneak down through his session here to his summary, as Lynn says, and trying to catch any sketches along the way. Alexis, from what I've seen of your work, you have a lot of AOLs that are usually fairly accurate. In your sketches, too. Believe it or not, man waiting, there's nothing that says it is, but that figure right there, that's exactly how Dale Guthrie used to stand, with his arms behind his back on playground patrol and stuff. Now, I don't know about this crab thing. And Jed and I have been talking. His sketches are rubber banding. He's landing at the target and blowing something up hugely out of proportion. So I've been trying to look at sketches now and see if there's anything that would be comparable if the size were different. Alexis, if you've got a mic, can you talk? Evidently not. Something being observed, that looks like spectacles to me. And reflective and deep. Move to whatever is being observed and described. And there are a lot of doors in that building, and they've added on more buildings. So that might look like one of them. I had more pictures that I didn't scan in. And I was trying to come down to this sketch and see what you were perceiving just before you sketched this. See if it looked like anything. Because I really have no doubt that y'all are there roaming around someplace. It's just hard for me to figure out this time. All right, Alexa's summary is target is rough, solid, slow-moving, and warm. Appears to be water and green vegetation nearby. Red, black, and purple colors are present. And chirping, slushing, crashing sounds. Bright, shining, reflective object nearby. The slide is there, and that is definitely silver, bright. That you don't say silver, but it's bright, shining, and reflective. And feeling of observation and a sense of expectancy and patience. So I'm looking to see, Alexis, do you have anything that you want to, if you want to take your mute off, or if you want to type something into the chat area? Russ is saying part of the church facade. The front of the building has almost like turrets and an arch over the doorway. And I'm trying to go up toward the roof line in my head, see if any of that. Okay. All right, Deborah. And a 13-page summary. You are thorough. And Alexis, I think I tried to do an upside-down drawing. And that's possible. Side orientation could be it. It's just with me not having a whole lot of time to look at these, you know, I have to stare at them and flip them, turn them backwards, shrink them, blow them up in my head, and see if they possibly jive with the site. I am trying to get somebody to come in and do a webinar on sketching. I've not been successful with that yet, but I had sort of dropped it. If I can get someone to talk to us about our sketches, some of us are better at it than others. You know, people are not my strong suit for sketching. All right, Deborah, if you want to chime in here, I can be your scribe and scroll down through here and do whatever, or if you just want to talk while I scroll, it's your session.
Yeah, just start to scroll.
Okay.
If you had asked me what I thought I was viewing, I would have said I thought I was viewing a bridge that broke apart that was around caves or something being excavated or something like that. That was at least my AOLs. But so I think I was, and I did get trained, so I think I was really, I'm sure I was over by the bridge.
Yeah.
And the bridge was breaking apart, which was probably because you said the bridge isn't still there anymore. Is it still?
Well, actually, no, you would have been right. Hang on, I'm bringing it back up. On a truss bridge, this is what it looks like. It looks like it's breaking apart. It's in 3 sections.
Yeah, that looks like it.
So see, I'm sitting here grumping. I haven't had a chance to go over these sessions very well. And see how well you're doing? Yeah, sight contact. That's what's important.
But is that bridge still there? Is it
No, that one, but at the time that I wanted you to move it to, yes, it was. In 67, 68, yes, it was. And if we weren't working with such a large group of different viewers, you know, I would have probably told you to give yourself a move command to a specific year. like move back, or how many years, move back in time from whatever 2011 to 1967 is. Move back in time and describe. But I was afraid of giving too much information to people, and they'd start building castles, and they have enough to do as it is. So, but the bridge now is your standard issue with cement and cement sides on it and asphalt. And there you go, metallic, lattice-like, fortified, crisscross, scaffolding-like. See, just look at you. Just because nobody sketched my school, I think I'm all down in the dumps. As for your descriptors, might have been used for transportation. Oh yeah, definitely that. And something may fall off it. It probably was. Every time a bus went over it, probably something did fall off it. Look at that. Track light and long, 2 at least, having to do with issue.
I think I was sensing there was a problem with the bridge, like it wasn't strong enough.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we like came down or something, but.
Oh, geez. Intense accident waiting to happen. Oh, look at you. Sideways movement important. What does that mean?
Whatever was on it moved sideways, not up and down. Maybe.
You went to something very important that was dangerous. Consequences are dire. Another structure, cylindrical bulbous, excavating, overhanging, porous, earthy, seamed airplane shape. That bucket type machine that is used for cement work, it's not exactly shaped like a plane. I'm also trying to keep an eye out, no lens. It was sloping in the photo. And excavating, I don't know about that. You always have to know that your interpretation of what you're seeing isn't necessarily what it's actually doing, but it reminds you of. Archer space under the initial structure that is bridge-like. Well, the front door has the arch above it. Now, whether or not that qualifies, I don't know, but if you ask yourself, is there something arched at the site? Yes. Ooh, people have died in here. Inside part of the structure. Skull and crossbones. Not that I know of, but you never know. Oh, well, actually, Dale Guthrie died there in the bathroom. The school nurse did CPR on him. Huh. Wet, dripping liquid. That would be a bathroom. Okay. I'll be darned. Person in charge, bossy, commanding, afraid, troubled, masculine, strong. Something could have been prevented. Saying stop, go back. Got to clear a path. And not originally from the United States. can't say if any of the faculty was there, but there were also, in those days they didn't even have ambulances. The undertakers came out and transported. Huh. Well, it's kind of weird when you know the target like this. Let's see. Disqualified speaks into a radio type thing that has a cord connects to a box. Knobs, old-fashioned, very protective of it, and won't let others use it. Reverse engineering. Knowing when a spade is a spade. You have that in quotation marks. Did you write it in session in quotation marks?
Yes.
Ah, P7.
I get a lot of those.
Yeah. All right. People at the above designated time concerned with earlier time before designated.
I was just kind of playing around here with time. So.
Oh, great. How far back did you go?
Caveman.
Looks like Cro-Magnon Man. Rambo life. Train going around the bend. There you go. All right, refresh me. What's a petroglyph?
Like Indian drawings on the side of a,
okay.
of a mountain or something.
Gotcha. Oh, geez. Wonder how far back you went.
I think I might have been picking up on the iron ore plate. Like, is there actually a mine or something?
Well, they had to get it, and they're calling it boggy. So even though, I mean, in that photo, it's called a bog. So that's watery, and even though it doesn't appear like that now, it would have been watery then. And that one photo, it did look dark. I'll show you. Maybe it just rained or something. That aerial shot. How long do you work on your sessions? For this one, anyway.
This was like 3 hours.
Yeah.
I don't usually go that long. Well, it depends.
It says private caller. I don't have any idea who that is. They probably want me to donate something, so we're going to ignore it. Lynn never dials the phone, but I thought on the off chance it's Lynn. Okay. What else would you like to, I mean, there's just so much here.
No, that's fine. You can move on.
You know, may not be the school.
You know, I just have to say that my first impression when I saw the school building was, oh, that's boring. So maybe that's why I didn't get to school, because it just looks like a boring square building with nothing around it initially.
Yeah, and I could see, you know, I don't mind for this, but don't let yourself, I mean, if you're operational, don't let yourself get talked into going to the exciting stuff. Even though I could certainly see that bridge was dangerous, and you went there, and that's very important. It just didn't happen to be the target, but sometimes it's like Ingo, when he was supposed to view the little complex, and instead he viewed the secret complex, and which bought him the site visit, which got him the funding.
Well, I think that I have noticed that that's a problem or a pattern I have, is to like go for the drama. So I agree with you. Need to be careful.
I have a problem. I go for the people in trouble. You can't take me anywhere. If there's one person frowning, I zero in on them. It's like, for crying out loud, Teresa, you're not driving the ambulance right now. Like, you know, view the target. And then Mishi isn't here, so we'll skip her for the moment. Michael, we'll go with your summary first. And Michael's session, maybe we should just, for those of you who don't work much with timelines, we'll scroll down through Michael's stuff here. And anytime you want to take your mute off and jump in here, go ahead. Scroll down through it. He's got 13 pages total here. He wrote an interim summary. Is that your standard? Do you like to do that?
At times, yeah. Part of the reason I do it is I do my sessions in bits and pieces. That's just kind of the way my life is, and it helps me reestablish site contact if I've had to take a break. But what I've found over time is that if I start with my compound ideogram, there are times in sessions where it simply tells the story. So I just now make it a habit, once I've done my ideograms, to write a summary of what the ideograms actually are saying to me, and then I move on.
Okay, so you've got the ideogram initially indicates 3 or 4 bios at a place with structured man-made, something's hanging, dragging down, a sense of wateriness, thank you, close by natural, along with a synthetic type of land. And the bios, female, young boy, teen, younger is perceived. And here we go with the Leaf Garrett meets Farrah Fawcett hair. Yeah, that was us. A lot of hairspray went into that stuff. Yeah, I thought that sketch was probably pretty right on. And then here we go with, can you speak a little bit to the timeline as to what you were doing and what you were trying to find out here? And pendulum dowsing, excuse me.
Yeah, I was just using pendulum dowsing on those, they're scalar lines to try and discern the age of the bio that I was viewing at the time. So it's just an advanced level tool, and I drew a scalar line assuming this person could be anywhere from a zygote up to 100 years old, and divided the line and then just let my pendulum do the work. From there, just broke it down into fractals, smaller and smaller, until I got to what I thought was a reasonable estimate of the bio's time age.
Okay, so every line represents a breakdown and then a fresh dowsing for an answer, and you just kept breaking it down into increments, and then you settled on, where are we at here? Between 50s to probably about 57, 58 maybe?
Yeah, I just guesstimated between 56 and 59. Being precise wasn't that important. I thought I was pretty close to being in the ballpark.
Yeah. Some of the principal players who would have been on site would have been in that age group. There are only five or six faculty members. Oh, Lord. Loretta Lynn. Yeah, that would be about right. And then Was there significant, nice sketch, significance to this bio?
It was a flash impression. She seemed to be, my impression of her was that she was second fiddle to the first older male. Like she
Okay.
was
That was
in
you
the
then.
background to him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she was in the background to him, maybe subservient or secondary to him.
Okay. And all right. Your session had some really good teaching things in it. And then you have your summary is typed out. So we should probably go to that, right? Thinking.
Yep.
Okay. There you go. Take it away, Michael.
Well, I mean, you could read it for yourself. It was, I viewed an activity in an outdoor location where an event that appeared to be staged was occurring, multiple bios. Some were seemingly more important than others, and those were the ones being showcased. There were other bios onlooking. I thought they were looking from a different viewpoint of elevation or incline. But there was notable interest and enthusiasm. You know, I saw these bios performing some type of an activity of personal interest. Excuse me.
I think we have the same phone.
Yeah. Anyway, there was one bio who I thought was a little bit prideful or pleased with himself, and then the female who seemed to be a little bit more reserved. You know, throughout the session, I guess I did it in different stages, early in the morning, late at night, middle of the day, that type of thing. I found it kind of hard to, I guess, really carve a path to the target. It just seemed as though there were different segments of it, and I couldn't make a cohesive whole out of it.
And that was another reason I chose this target, because there has been discussion throughout the years in various settings, boards, wherever, about how easy it is to view some targets. They've been viewed, I don't know if we should talk entanglement theory here, but they've been viewed a million times. They've had a million paths burned to the target. This is probably the first time this one's ever been remote viewed. So we just burned, or all of you, just pretty much plowed a furrow through space and time to this target. So I was really curious, and Lynn knew about it, but I don't know that we discussed that point per se. So I was going to be really interested to see what he had to say based on what we're seeing here from you guys. Changing topography, yes it is, that area. The school is actually set up on a hill. The drive where the bus is parked, it was a pretty good slope down to the baseball field and big open area where we would all play and have what little softball and whatever we could. 70s ambience, pretty darn close. And I mean, a lot of your stray cats, several of you are really getting a lot of spot-on stray cats. And actually, the kitchen may not seem like much of a focal point, but for there it was, because it was home ec for us. We were slave labor for the most part. In 7th and 8th grade, we would go down and work in the kitchen, rotate through, and so we helped make the lunch, and it was a big deal to know what was going to be for lunch every day. For some of the little farm kids, nobody talked about it, but for some of them it was, and not so much different than today. It was the only food they had, and it was all homemade, and the whole place smelled every day of whatever was cooking for lunch. So, nice work. You guys are restoring my faith. I was beating myself up pretty good. Anything else you'd like to bring up?
No, not at all.
How do you think you did?
Shitty.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't have been quite that hard on you. Let's face it. You got the 70s ambiance, the hair. I mean, if I were to recast you, you know, I think I could have found stuff.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there are bits and pieces, but...
Yeah.
With statistical certainty.
Yeah. There's also been rumor, you know, that just because we're working Lynn's targets and we're, you know, doing so well because we can see the feedback, and so last 3 or 4 targets have been little surprises. They haven't been Lynn's. So, let's see, Janine's up next, and the only thing is, her 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are not, I don't think, in the order necessarily. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. These are JPEGs. So, let's see here. There's a sketch we've got. Remember all that playground equipment that we saw? There were 2 of them that are potentially that. And she's got ring ropes, lattice, and she's got thatched. Like that. She AOL makes no sense. I've done that in session myself. Okay, and here is page 3, front loading. The target is the target, and her move command. Just for the heck of, you were in your note to me, Janine, you said you didn't think that the form was quite up to par. When you take front loading in your session, you write this before you take your coordinates for the first time. That just tells the analyst that you've taken front loading. And here we go. We've got long dresses, long skirts, and I don't know about Winston Churchill, but apostolic females do have the tendency to wear long dresses and long denim skirts. Your front loading was in the middle, as in you'd already started your session before you found out, oh, because that's right, you sent me an email and said that you found the email with the instructions. I think that was you. So that's actually mid-loading then. And you've got crop circles as an AOL. And this thing is sitting out in the middle of a cornfield. So here we're getting into some church-type perceptions. You've got billowing cloth silk, and arched, and I think Russ was picking up on a wedding. Women in kimonos or long garments. Well, that Russ likes your sketches. We have a lot of good sketches today. So that's two of you. And the long skirts, as I was saying about the apostolic, you know, if we've got a wedding in progress, if you guys found that to be interesting. Big hills, there are a couple of good-sized hills in the area. And you can see a long ways, large vista. It's not like Montana, but it's very open out there. And, oops, sorry about that. I'm wondering if we need to, there we go. This one needed to go first. You're jumping around a lot too, side excursions. You think you're outdoors, somewhat primitive, rough structure, vegetation growing on it, vines, lattice, a woman casually dressed in khakis, stove and a frying pan, and waterfall, body of water that I didn't show. There is, darn it, there is a river where you saw on the topography where the railroad is. About that much further from the school to the railroad, there's a river. It's not that close to the school, but it's in the neighborhood. Old-timey town, wooden floors. Jim's got wood floors. Farmland, you got that. And you AOL'd it as a crop circle. An impression of winding and spiral, a staircase perhaps. The staircase in the school isn't necessarily a spiral, but it went up and then left and it came back around. So it didn't curve, it was square, but it came back around on itself, as in I'm like waving to the camera here, talking with my hands. I don't know about the twinkly lights and the sparklers. I haven't been inside since they've taken over. But if there's a wedding going on, they might have decorated, can't confirm. And good, Russ is bringing up the bride and the church are symbolic as well. And this is true. Billowing people stretch between them like silk or cloth, or a large flag. There is a flag flying outside. Long counter with sinks and a mirror. There are two bathrooms. I can't vouch for the boys, but the girls, that was appropriate. Open space and vista, dirt, and people on bicycles, a possibility. And pretty disappointed and seemed unrelated, struggling to get anything at times. And you know, when I talk to the boss, I have a feeling that he's going to say that you guys carved a path to a target that's never been viewed before. I have a feeling that this was a significant thing that you were successful at. Okay, David. All right, we've got seven pages. And your usual complex ideograms. Oh, I know. Jed, I didn't go over Jed yet, or Mishies, but camera alike. I was wondering if you picked up on me. I took enough pictures there. I was hoping I wasn't going to get arrested for trespassing or something. They have reunions there for us, but I was not there during a reunion. And you get a lot on this miracle thing. That's a
but
fair...
Every time there's a church, I get this cut-and-picking tune.
Yep. Just like Colleen, she'd get her giraffe legs whenever there was a bio.
Yeah.
And here you're going church-like and brick red.
What I did not understand about this target was that I was to have tasked myself with a move in time, so I never did it. I wondered how she's going to accomplish tasking me with a move in time, and I let it go. So I never made the attempt. I hadn't done this target for 2 weeks. It was beating at me, so I wasn't able to sleep, and I got up from my bed after midnight and went down to the kitchen and spent 40 minutes and produced this.
Well, considering we're talking about a church here, what do you think? And I guess if you didn't move in time, I guess I'm probably not going to see any school stuff, huh?
Well, I don't think so, but I didn't perceive a cross behind this figure. It was illuminated from behind and above. Page 3, in the perceptions, I wrote down cow patty, but it didn't end up in the summary.
Well, it probably would have been one in the neighborhood, not necessarily inside the building. And no cross visible, you said, but you're getting all kinds of church perceptions. Now this sketch right here, I've included a photo of the stage only because if you were sitting out in the audience and the stage was behind you, it had wooden front on it like that because we took those doors out, or they slid. That's where we stored all the folding chairs. And so that's the way it looked, and it did look rounded with over on the sides would be the curtains. So even though it was actually straight across, it would appear somewhat curved. So I'm not trying to waffle, I'm just pointing out something.
I did take this to be a bridge. Later I thought, what makes you think it's a suspension bridge? And I neglected to write down that I did not perceive water, which puzzled me, but then I'd completely forgotten about railroad trestles.
Where were you before that? You were talking about people?
I perceived myself indoors, I think.
I was wondering if you could have moved to the bridge, because there is one, or if you're still inside.
Well, post-session, I could have been in Rio de Janeiro, and it was also post-Olympic Games in Britain. I thought, oh, she wouldn't do that.
You're all over the globe.
Well, that was, I'd already closed the session and written a summary, so I was cheating.
Yeah. You know, though, as long as you don't have the feedback, you can always take coordinates and go back in.
Do it again.
Yep, you can get more. Seemed to be a sporting event, you said. Somebody's arms were spread out, like Christ on the cross pose, not necessarily that. And, you know, we could be dipping people to baptize them, too. I don't know if you ever attended one of those functions.
I've not seen it done, only heard about it. On the whole, I think the session is a miss.
A miss?
A miss, yeah.
You think? Okay, if you say so. Indoor display church. That was the target. It was a church. church camp, rather.
There's a final page on that summary.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
And this was, I was thinking about the bridge when I wrote the description of the land.
Uh-huh.
And I neglected to say I did not receive water. So.
Okay. Seen at a diagonal from where the school sits, going toward the railroad bridge, it is going uphill. Okay, and is it a brick building? Yes, ma'am. Deborah, it is. And Russ is saying he drew stages of humanity growth and sat. All right, and then this is a pretty short one. We've got one photo. I think this might be Misha's first time to turn in a session. Let's see. And she's seeing things in wintertime. People wearing heavy coats. And AOL in Switzerland, and she's kind of stuck on the Olympics. Track, trail, skiing with bells, whistles, and cheering. Humans in a cold environment. And they were worried. And then here is her sketch. And I'm not sure what methodology she uses. While we're still here, I'm going to try calling Lynn and ask him, at least I can have this conversation. Oh, who's down there hiding out? Lynn Buchanan. Oh, thank God you're here. Hey, boss. You're on. How long have you been here in stealth mode?
I don't know. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, okay. I've been here after fighting for about, after fighting for about 15 minutes to get on the WebEx. I got on, and I've been here for a while.
Good. Well, you've been listening to all of us do the Eeyore thing, beating ourselves up.
Yeah, and, you know, never ask a viewer how he did.
Well, the analyst isn't feeling too good either.
Well, I tell you, from what I saw, it looked pretty good to me.
Well, and actually, I was sitting here. We've got a lot of sessions came in. I haven't had a chance to go over them thoroughly. This right here has been the most in-depth. Actually, I'm just trying to get them all downloaded in someplace where I can get my hands on them for tonight. But we have Jed's stuff. Jed's is the only session left. But before we do that, I was just disappointed. You know, I'm expecting to see sketches of my school, and it's going to say church. Then they're going to move in time, and then they're going to describe the school. And we didn't see that. But they're doing their usual thing, I think. They're on a field trip, and they all got off the bus and found something that interested them and went that way. But let's just get Jed's up here. He didn't realize he's changed shifts, and his life is kind of topsy-turvy for a little bit. He didn't even realize that he was supposed to be practicing a move command.
Well,
so
you know, one of the things is that I don't know where the whole bugaboo started about being afraid of front loading and, oh, it pollutes me and all this other stuff, but you know, a lot of times you don't know what to do in a session if nobody tells you what to do. You don't know where to put your work or anything. And so front loading that has pollution in it is bad. Front loading that just tells you where to put your work, you know, do a move command. Move, you know, the target is an event over 3 days of time. Move through the 3 days of time, or something like that.
Is it possible to move too frequently?
Not really.
Because Key and I were reviewing that on the phone just yesterday.
Yeah.
I asked, you know, are you happy with the amount of perceptions that you're getting? Because you're moving. I mean, I love it. You're like, move here and tell me what it smells like. Move here and rap on it. What does it sound like?
Yeah.
You know, I'm happy. Be curious. But is it possible to be zipping around so much like a UFO that you don't really land anywhere long enough to...
Yeah, it's not. You know how, well, like you're comfortable, you don't notice a change, and you walk outside and all of a sudden there's a temperature change, but you stay outside a while and you're comfortable, you don't notice a change, then you come back in and you feel the change. Every time you do a move command in time or in space, it's going to make a change, and change is what we're sensitive to. Now the thing is, if you keep track of where you are, then afterwards you can put it all together. You know, when you go back and write your summary, then you can say, oh, you know, when I moved to here, there, and back and forth. And that's when you can sort of analyze it and put it together. But every time you move, there is a change, and you're going to notice something. And as soon as you notice something, write it down. Write where you change to or when you change to. And no, hopping back and forth all over the target, you got to realize that that's what your mind does when you first get to a target. It winks about the site. And so, no, don't be afraid of the move. And above all, don't be afraid of front loading. Teresa does the front loading right. You're not going to get polluted.
I was explaining when we first started that working with, you know, a group, not all have studied with you, not all are the same level, some are post-grads, and I chose the most generic, non-informative front loading, which is the target is a target, describe the target. I was hoping that they would get on site you haven't seen the photos yet, the feedback photos probably, but get on site where the church or the school is a church camp now and get established in session and then move to when I went to school there and describe it then.
Okay, but
so,
did you tell them to do the move commands?
I told them I didn't because they're not all your students.
Oh, that's okay.
I did not say move 60 plus years. I didn't get that specific. I just said move to the designated time and describe.
Yeah, okay. And at the same time, with front loading, you can say use move commands around the target. And that's instruction of where to put their work, but it really doesn't pollute anything. Your dog has a sweet toy.
Yeah, she decided all of a sudden that this is when she needs to play, and I hate to come here. It's okay. I hate to say anything. I'm not schooling her, and she's like, well, I hardly ever do this. Is it okay? Oh, anyway. Sure. Anyway, just so you know, Jed got something here, and then until I loaded in the feedback photos, I thought, what in the world is this? Well, I'll be doggone if there isn't a machine sitting there that says cement on one side of it, not in this photo, but in one of the other ones it says cement on the side of it, and it has like a boom, like a tree trimmer thing, and I'll be, Leah, good girl. Good girl. Anyway, he's got snorkeling, and he's describing how you would put caulk between the bricks.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I'm not trying to waffle. I'm just trying to figure out. You know, this really, I always say, this isn't waffling. It's trying to figure out if somebody even has sight contact. And How unusual is that? And his session, his second session was pretty much like the first.
Yeah.
Let me just show you so you know what we're supposed to be looking at here. This is the current structure, and it's the school that's now an apostolic church camp. Some of the folks have been picking up that there might be a wedding going on in there and some drama on stage. I typed this up myself from the photos. There's nothing on the net about this at all. So I had to put down what I knew about the site. 2 stories, terrazzo floors, a gym with wood floors, no bleachers. There's a stage there. And it sits on what used to be iron ore bogs. There's a river off in the distance. It's one of the aerial shots looks wet. There's some liquid in the area. So I don't know if Deborah thought maybe she fixated on the iron ore bog part. And then we're going to get to the truss bridge, which was in use in 67, 68, but has been currently replaced. And Deborah, God love her, figured her own self out. She took one look at the building, thought that was a little boring, and went off to find something a little more exciting, and she fixated on that unsafe truss bridge. I need my paychecks, and I would just about bet money on it.
Good.
She also picked up on the fact that there's some place that's wet and kind of stinky, and people have died here. Well, Dale Guthrie was our beloved principal, the polymath that you remind me of, and he knew something about everything. I don't think he could create engines like you, but he died. He had a heart attack in the bathroom, and they did CPR on him there. So I thought, oh my. Ruth Buffenbarger was sister, she taught there, and she was sister of Secretary of State Earl Butz. Threw that in case some of these people pick up on that kind of stuff. Some of the original playground equipment is still there. And here's the building. Here's the shot right here of that other picture, which I did not include. It says cement on the side of this thing, which raises up and down with a bucket. And just some of the stuff that they do there now because it's a camp, and I didn't know some of the colors that people might pick up. I didn't know if anybody would pick up on any of the motion of the playground equipment. Somebody did get a shiny metallic at the site. I think Janine drew lattice work, and it looks very much like one of these two. There's a tree I tried to save in 2nd grade. It was just a little thing, and I was pretty sure the snow was going to bury it and kill it. I about got frostbite, but the tree's fine. And there is the marker with the school in the background. And just beyond the marker on the other side is the train track. So a lot of people in session have been getting train noises. And so I put the train down in case those noises were mentioned. Here are going to be 2 topography shots. The school is right here, and I don't know if this is what we call muck, which is loam, and it'll actually catch fire, or if that is wet. But there are farms all around it, so you hear all kind of farm animal noises. Not unusual for when they clean out a barn for them to spread manure on the field, and you get that too. And if Debbie Height were turning in a session, she would pick up on that kind of stuff in a heartbeat. So you got all the appropriate tractor sounds with field work going on, grain, oats, wheat, and corn, as well as farm animals, which you would not think would be present at a school setting, but in this case, yes, you would. And here's a close-up of the building, and here is a truss bridge that Deborah I think, described in how very unsafe it was. And we were going over this bridge in buses.
Weight limit of 4 tons.
And you used to drive a school bus. How much does a bus weigh?
Think about 14 or 15 tons, full of kids, you know.
Oh my God. Yeah, and we were going over that every day. Yep. Crisscross, and you should see her session. I'm not sure where you did come in, but, and then some of the interior shots were, somebody got yellow and white and number 1, but it was on a person's jersey. That would have been David. And just some of that kitchen was actually very important to the site. There is a big focus there. Some of those little farm kids didn't get a lot to eat back in the day. And this one had the date on it, so we could have some confirmation. And here, there have been some arches. And I was saying, when you're scoring your session, whether or not you accurately describe what the arch was, ask yourself, was there something arched at the site? Right there's an arch. So you could give yourself a yes. Whether or not you identified it, which you are not supposed to do correctly, is not what you're looking for. Is there something arched at the site? And that's not waffling. And I was including that's Mrs. Buffenbarger. I was including these because Michael was getting Farrah Fawcett hair, 1970s, bouffant, and then the shot of the stage, which we were just talking with David. He was thinking that it was more of a bridge type thing, but the stage actually has lines there, and those were doors, and we shoved the chairs under there and stored them. So whether or not that's what he thought he was viewing or not, it was a possibility. So, and then show some of the steam heat again and some of the bricks, because a lot of the sketches have these bricks in the background. So, okay, boss, what do you want to do since you want to look at any sessions, or you just want to talk to them? Oh, what do you think? Some of them felt as if they were plowing their way to the target. Would you like to address things like, and I don't want to, entanglement theory is kind of easy to go to, but there are sites like the Eiffel Tower that have been viewed millions of times by now, and so to view those, might be easier. This one has never been viewed before. What do you think? Is it harder when you're burning a path to a target for the first time?
Oh, well, I think it is, yeah.
I didn't know if you could speak to that from experience. It seems logical, but I don't know if it's correct.
Yeah, it's harder, yes. Okay, that's a stated fact. Now then, how do you feel about the harder targets? If they interest you and they make you curious, then even though it's harder to do, it winds up being an easier session, okay? Because you get curious. If you allow it to bog you down and to, oh, this is hard, I don't think I can do this, and you keep telling yourself, oh, I can't do this, then it's going to be a hard session. But yeah, being a pioneer, there are no paved pioneer roads.
And that was another reason, like I said, that I chose this target, because I wanted to see over the years, people have talked about burning a path to the target, and so on. And I don't know where it was. An actual conversation in a thread once was centered around targets that had been viewed multiple times, and that they were easier. And I don't know who was behind that discussion or anything, but this one, this is totally new, and I think that if we can show any measure of success without waffling, I think it says something to what we did here today.
Well, sure, yeah. And the thing is, if you follow the protocols, it's all going to sort of take care of itself anyway. But yeah, the thing is, a target that's been viewed many, many times, it's not only easier to view it, but it winds up being easier to view those things that everybody has seen and noticed. Okay, so those parts of it, which means that a target that's been viewed many, many times, if you're wanting details that nobody else has gotten, well, there you are back in the, wading through the hard part. And sometimes I think it might be even harder to get facts that nobody else has gotten on a site that everybody has done than it is to just go into a site that has never been done and just do it. So, it all depends on what you're there for, the attitude you take about it, whether or not you get curious. And curiosity is what separates a world-class viewer from everybody else. If you can get curious about a target, there's really not going to be a hard target.
Somebody got spiral staircase too. This isn't spiral. It does turn, but it's metal. So I think that, and also I wanted to get a shot. Here's that close-up where it says masonry with that bucket.
Yeah.
So as long as we're sitting here analyzing, my car seems to have made it into, I even got pictures of this. I didn't know about the barn or the blue barrels. I thought if somebody fixated on those.
Okay, now I have a question though. Was your tasking to go back and to go back in time to when you were there, or was it
to
present
67,
time?
67. I was hoping that they would land at the time that the feedback photo was taken, when it says it's the Apostolic Church Camp.
Yeah.
And then move back in time to when it was a school.
Okay.
And you would have those two different types of environment.
Okay.
That's what I was hoping for.
Well, hope is a tasker's AOL.
Okay.
If you don't tell them, okay, your target is a target.
Right.
And then give some instruction as to how to work their session.
Right.
Move back 60 years and describe it.
Right.
Describe it in present tense as well, or at present.
Which, from hanging out with you and all your teaching of us, I knew that. But, I mean, I'm making posts to the IRVA list and all this. And so that's why I just genericked it as much as I could.
Yeah.
I thought, well, we'll see what we get, and we'll have something to discuss tonight.
Well, that's good, yeah. I know that on those lists, with other teachers and all that, you've got people who are so afraid of front-loading that if you tell them anything, they just won't do the target.
Yeah.
And, so maybe that was a necessary evil.
And that was the choice that I made, that if we were actually doing it for us in your training, I know that you would have done it differently. Okay, so now that we can say that, how would you have done it? If we really wanted to view the target,
yeah,
at
one time, I think you posted, we're practicing move commands for this target.
Yeah.
The target is a target, okay?
Yeah.
And so you kind of slipped some valid front loading in there.
Right, and that was in the post.
It was, okay.
Yeah, it was. The post said, the target is the target, describe the target. And I was hoping that this would be where they landed.
But did it say we're practicing move commands?
Then I said, give yourself an in-session move command. I didn't say practice. I said in-session move command.
I would say, give yourself in-session move commands.
Okay.
Okay, and that way they could move around the target, you know, hoping that they would automatically know which move command to give.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, hope is a tasker's AOL.
Mm-hmm. Again, I was hoping that they would land at this time and then move to the 1967 school activity.
Yeah.
And describe. And to do that, I don't have time to make multiple posts on the list.
Right.
So I'm not trying to set us up to fail, but just trying to do the best I could.
Well, that's what I say on the list. You know, you give any front loading at all, and a lot of people just are so scared of front loading that they just won't do the target.
Yeah.
But I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway.
I'm sorry. Janine's frowning up there. She says, the school kitchen looks like the old-time store that I saw with women in longer dresses and bun-type hair, except I identified it as Old England. She keeps trying to identify things.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a lot of folks here who definitely come right out and say what they think that is instead of just describing it. Yeah,
that's one of the things of, you know, the Indo-European culture that we're in, is that from prehistoric times, the one who could identify things was the one who succeeded. And so we're not just battling our own tendency to do that, we're battling our entire culture and history and everything. Mm-hmm. It's hard to not identify.
Yeah. Okay. Deborah has to go. Some of these folks have little people that they have to get tucked in and do activities for and stuff. So anyway, it's open mic time. Anybody who wants to throw out questions and comments or take your mic off mute or whatever you want to do. It is 9:39. So we have a little time. For once I don't have to make coleslaw for work or something.
When did you start tonight?
8 o'clock. Well, about 10 after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it would have been 6 my time. I came in an hour late. Sorry about that.
Well, we used to start at 9, but for folks on the West Coast, it's, you know, and then the folks over in England who are up, you know, during the night and all of that. So, Russ, what's the town so I can look up the church on Flickr? Good luck. It's Albion, A-L-B-I-O-N, Indiana. Just to bring up the school per se doesn't really get you anything. I was lucky to find the bridge. And I'm just kind of watching the chat area to see if anybody types anything in.
This is a very good target, and you know, with the history of it and all that. And, you know, if someone got to this and just, you know, the building by itself, if you don't move to a time of activity, this is an apostolic camp, then this would be a really boring target. But the fact is, this has a lot of history, it has a lot of activity during camp time and so forth, and it actually winds up being a very good target. And like you say, it's a target that doesn't have a path worn to it, and that's a very good thing.
I thought it was an extra challenge for us.
Yeah. Never be afraid of a challenge.
I used to kind of think that I would hold this target in reserve if I maybe was interviewing people for, you know, if they wanted to view, it's like, fine, view this target for me, and I'll know if you can do as well as you say. But, you know, with no path ever being burned to it before, that would have probably been an unfair advantage for that situation. Janine's asking, is there a cemetery anywhere nearby? Not really close, no. Do season move command for changes at the church then? Yes, you could.
Sure.
Janine, what are you picking up on about cemeteries? You saw a lot of crosses.
Oh, saw a lot of crosses at a church school.
Yeah, where's that David Beatty? He thinks he blew it. I mean, he's got all these church descriptors, and he's just beating himself up really bad. Really bad. Michael Rinaldi thinks he, quote-unquote, did shitty.
I know. Yeah, never trust a viewer to judge their own work. One of the things that always gets to me is that people think that a remote viewer is going to cheat for themselves and give themselves credit where they don't deserve it. The fact is they don't know what they're talking about, because I have never seen anybody as hard on themselves as remote viewers are, you know. I've even seen them draw detailed pictures of the site, detailed descriptions of the site, put it all into the summary, and then when, you know, they've gotten close to 100% accuracy, even with the sketches and drawings, just, woe is me, I did so badly, I missed the target.
Yeah, I don't know if you had a chance to see David.
Yes, I did. I was very impressed with that, yeah.
Yeah, he did horribly, you know.
Yeah, I know.
He didn't get anything. Didn't get a thing.
No.
Blew it and missed the target.
Yeah. Yeah, that would never suggest a church right there, would it?
Oh, no. Window and Christ-like. Church-like? No, not at all. He didn't get any crosses.
That's okay. Janine got them for him.
Yeah. Did you see her session? Look at the bride in there.
No, I didn't.
Is that hers, or that might have been Mishi's? I tell you, I was, up until a couple days ago, I had like one session and maybe some outliers, maybe two, and I'm like, well, thank God I've got at least one person doing session. And then they just started rolling in, and I'm like, holy cow. I got to get these in some semblance of order so I can get my hands on them for tonight. I was kind of wondering about this one. Near linear vertical descent path tending longish distance many times the figure's height. Didn't know what that pertained to, but I thought it was awfully interesting.
Well, this is absolute waffling here, but that could be the cross.
And I asked him if he knew anything about baptizing and being dunked.
Yeah.
But anyway, he said he never attended one of those.
Apostolic churches dunk, don't they, rather than sprinkle?
I think.
Yeah.
And okay, that's not the one.
Go back to the thorny crowns around the head.
Oh, good catch. I didn't get that. Of course, I barely had time to look at it. Good catch.
Thorny crown, or, you know, the aura or halo or whatever. I don't know. That's waffling too.
I know.
I'll admit. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like you say, you first have to figure out if somebody's got sight contact.
That's the main thing. And from
and so
what
we're
I saw
looking for
about,
associations, you know?
I'm sorry?
We're looking for associations.
Well, we're looking for associations, yeah. And, you know, you, as an analyst, you can't get away from that, really. It's a human tendency. But one of the first things you do is always look for sight contact. And once they have sight contact, then you figure in that there's going to be AOLs, there's going to be waffling, there's going to be attempts to identify, and so on. And so, you know, but an analyst, first thing you look for is their sight contact. And from everything I've seen so far, the answer is yes, right there, you know.
Uh-huh. There's something arched at the site.
And the crosses and the pageant.
Yeah, and the kimonos and women in long dresses and a procession. I was wondering if right here is one of those outdoor play things.
Gazebos, or oh, it could be, yeah.
And I know I'm kind of running through these in a hurry. There's
the thing is, you know, even when a person is standing there looking at something, well, this, of course, you know, a crime takes place or a car wreck or something like that, and the police come and they interview 5 people who were standing there watching it. They're going to get not only what the person saw, but they're going to get that person's interpretation, that person's identification. And I mean, it's something we tend to do in our normal everyday life, so naturally it's going to happen in remote viewing too.
I'll get to Russ's here in a second. Here's that really crappy session of Mike Rinaldi's. So he thinks.
Yeah.
Start out with an interim summary because he says he, you know, has to do things when he can, so it's never one long session. And so he's
that's usually a good thing, by the way.
By the way, Russ has asked, do they sprinkle? Mine was sprinkle rain under a star bride and a groom with a wounded foot, and as opposed to a serpent's head. Little Farrah Fawcett drawing going on here.
Yeah.
I said I remember that here. Teased up and hairspray.
Let me go back to something you just said about Michael. Taking breaks during the session is a good thing simply because it takes you away from the target, and when you go back, it's the same principle as walking outside, noticing the change, and walking back in and noticing the change of a place that you didn't feel before. And if you take a break and actually take a break and not think about the target while you're on break, when you go back into the session, there's that change and you're going to notice things. So taking breaks is a good thing.
He said this sketch here said there was a female there that was subservient to the male. He was more dominant. Just seeing if there are more sketches or stuff. But he had typed his summary. Staged event outdoors, and he's on a slope elevation incline. There's several of those there. Outdoors, there is a hill involved on the actual site.
Mm-hmm.
And we had poofy hair, and somebody's very pleased with themselves. And there you go. Look at his stray cat. Those are some prominent things for that era.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, just for the heck of showing you Deborah Katz, it would be nice if these folks would post to the list and make some comments and stuff. It's all I can do just to keep up with what we're doing, but let alone try and maintain thread conversation about it. But here's Deborah got bored with the empty structure. She went to something a little more exciting.
Is the structure empty now?
Only when they have camp activity there. It's empty, except for then.
Yeah.
So she went over to the bridge, just up the road, just a small piece, and she actually has it crisscrossy, and it's in like sections, and it's metallic, and it's crumbling, and might have been used for transportation, and something may fall off of it, round, hard, breakable, small pieces, all over the place, and let's see. It has sideways movement, which is very important. It's an accident waiting to happen with wide gap and industrial nature and ambiance. And consequences are dire. Yeah, busload of kids falls down on the train track. That's not good. So anyway, I was kind of impressed with that.
Yeah.
And then here's where she said there's wet, dripping liquid, smells kind of musty, smells bad. People have died in here, skull and crossbones, and then there's somebody bossy, afraid, strong.
Oh, that would never describe a church school, would it?
No. It also could. Dale Guthrie died in the bathroom there, and they did CPR on him. So something could have been prevented, stop, clear path. Like, oh, how many codes have I run where that isn't too far off the mark? And I didn't mean to give a bad target. It's like you never know when somebody's died in a house or something. And
yeah.
She says she sort of is like me in that if there's some kind of a person mayhem kind of thing, she's all over it. I said, I can relate to that. And then Russ got bunches he gets tons of stuff. And all about church and theatrics. Try not to scroll too much here. And there's a star and a couple atop a cake. And it swings. He's got all kinds of an exit and an archway, an anniversary or annual event. There's drama involved. There's stage involved.
Yeah,
People
see, it looks like he was bouncing them back and forth in time, you know, without the move commands and without logging it. He was just automatically bouncing back and forth around the time. Every church school is going to have a Christmas star stacked away that they use once a year. They're going to have, you know, each one of these things that he described would be happening at one time during the year or not. And that's partial waffling, but not really, because it's, you know, it's all there. And so it looks like he's, yeah, it looks like he's up well, and during one part of the year it's out hanging up above, and so forth. So it looks like he's just automatically bouncing back and forth around that time. Which is a good thing, by the way.
He has here extension, and I don't know how close an apostolic church is to Pentecostals, but those folks can get a little active during their services.
Yeah.
So that is pretty much it.
Looks good.
We did better than I thought. I came into this thinking that, I'm looking at Russ's notes here. I see my verbs, church rebukes. Anyway, I came into this tonight. I was so busy just assembling sessions that I was not finding anything that yelled at me, school, and there are lots of church things. So excuse me, I'm hiccuping. Sorry. So, you know, Lynn, I was wondering if you do think that we had a valid point about viewing a target that's never been viewed before, you know, for learning for everybody, if you could consider making a post about that?
Oh, we could, yeah. You know, almost every one of the targets of the week, I go out of my way to find targets that have never been viewed before. And almost every one of them is that way. Yeah, I think it's good. Now, the drawback to it is that for beginners especially, it is kind of like wading through a bog, you know.
Yeah.
And success breeds success. And so for a raw recruit, a really early beginner, it's not a good idea to have these.
Right.
But once you get away from the raw recruit, oh yeah, and you know, if you can get targets that are of interest and a person can get curious, if you can design a target that will make a viewer curious and will just sort of suck them in, you know, whet their interest and get them sucked in and get them really curious about the target, it's going to be a good target.
Okay, well, I don't know about good, bad, or indifferent. I think in the end we did okay.
Yeah, and I mean, they did good work. One of the things is that viewers, even beginning viewers, advanced viewers and all that, the process of the remote viewing works for all targets, and if it doesn't, then it's not real, you know. And so no matter what you throw at a target, I mean, no matter what kind of target you throw at a viewer, at some point they should be capable of doing it. Even the dreaded cat on a couch or vase on a shelf or something like that, that is of zero interest, or, you know, a remote viewer can do it. And challenges are good for remote viewers because it shows them at some point, hey, look what I just did. That's a good feeling.
You know, Deborah, I just have to say, Deborah sent me an email. She was all excited to do this target. Nobody's ever tasked her with a move command before. Well, I gave her permission to move. She moved from the school to the bridge. She didn't exactly hang out in time, you know, but she wanted to move around, and by Yemeni, she did it.
Well, that's good. And, you know, that's absolutely great. I know that Ed May is so against moving about the target that if it's not in the feedback picture, then he scores it a no.
Yeah.
And
yeah, she said that she's been doing excellent. She's getting really good results with the ARV stuff and the focal point, and not so good here. And I'm like, oh, great.
Well, I hate to say this, and Marty gets upset with me every time I say it, but ARV can ruin a good remote viewer.
Yeah.
And it really can. And you get really good at ARV, and unless you practice both ARV and CRV equally, the better you get at ARV, the worse you're going to get at CRV. And you know, ARV is like a kind of like a drug once you start winning money and stuff like that. But the fact is that if you practice only viewing your feedback, it's going to mess you up. You've got to practice viewing the target.
Well, you know, it seems to me an ARV has a different purpose. But it seems to me like if you're trying to, what if you're trying to really help find a lost kid? You've got to be able to look around at who's to say you're going to go right to where it's buried, you know? And
or where it's huddled somewhere waiting to be rescued, you know?
Yep.
But, yeah, you know, and if all you can do out of habit or out of training or whatever is view your feedback, and you can't view where the kid actually is, they don't find the kid, and so you don't get feedback, and so it's just a vicious circle. You don't get the feedback, so you can't view it, and because you can't view it, they don't find the kid, so there's no feedback, and it just, you know, it's a circle.
Yeah.
And you've got to practice both equally, and, you know, practicing CRV exclusively is going to make you worse ARVer. And the two are the same principles, the same protocols and everything, but viewing the target in one and viewing the feedback in the other, if you slight one in order to do the other, the one you slight you're going to get bad at.
Yeah. We've got 2 or 3 people who are coming who are doing both types of viewing.
Good.
And I hold my breath, you know.
Yeah. That's the thing. If you practice both equally, you're going to get better at both.
Okay. Well, it is 10:06. So I think.
I apologize for being late.
Well, you thought that you moved in time to when we used to get together, which used to be 9 p.m. So.
Well, Swiss cheese memory these days.
Well, How are things?
They remain things. They're okay.
Website's better. You're getting a handle on that.
What is?
You said you've been posting that your website's doing better. Linda
Well,
said the
yeah.
target page is better.
Well, it's better, but I've been going through, and since it's on a Unix system,
Checking
Unix
everything.
works operate, and I've still got almost 300 targets to go through and check every link, check every picture, check every map, to make sure everything's right. And it's a slow
I have
process.
to shudder. Oh, yuck.
Yeah.
Yuck. Oh, okay, well, thank you for coming. And Russ says he watched the Truth broadcast. I have not had that luxury.
Oh, I haven't listened yet, but I was also last night on vixensvault.com. and I think it's an audio-only recording, but it turned out fairly well too, to be informative, more than just the basic, what is CRV and what is the history of the military and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm liking it that the interviewers these days are starting to ask something besides the same 5 questions. And this is one of the reasons why I don't usually say I'm going to be on a show, is because up until now it's just been the same 5 or 6 questions every single show. And but like I say, I haven't tried it yet to listen, but what is it? Vixen's Vault.
Vixen or Nixon?
Vixen, like a
like a siren?
Yeah, vixensvault.com, and it should be an audio recording, and it turned out pretty well too.
Oh, good. All right. Well, folks, I do think we probably ought to wrap this up. And in 2 weeks, we will be...
What is it tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night is just me giving a short presentation of hopefully some of the stuff. Let me turn this recording off just a second.